Ed Mayo, the chief executive of Consumer Focus, emphasises the concept of the consumer experience. So, for example, an extensive customer survey shows that the energy sector is rated rock bottom in terms of consumers' experience, with very dispiriting lessons, I think, for the energy regulator. Consumer experience is a concept that can be applied to each and every service that we can think of, from the services of Job Centre Plus to that provided by charities, be they housing associations, care homes, or advice centres. Making a concerted effort to understand how it feels like to be on the receiving end of a service you provide is surely a no-brainer when it comes to benchmarking quality. And yet too many charities are still resting on their laurels and don't appear to be making that attempt at all. Our recent report, A Balancing Act, New Perspectives on the Charity-Beneficiary Relationship, showed that only 29% of the charities we surveyed said they had a complaint or feedback procedure in place. And this proportion doesn't represent a direction starting from a low base and improving. It actually represents a slight worsening of the situation against a survey that we undertook in 2006, where a third of all charities surveyed said that they had such a system in place. So I found it interesting and somewhat baffling that 79% of the charities that we surveyed for this year's report said that they evaluated whether their services met the needs of their beneficiaries, whether they were, if you like, passing the relevance test. And while I recognise that there are many ways in which the efficacy of services can be evaluated, surely having a complaints and feedback facility has got to be one of the most direct. You can aspire to providing quality services without this kind of evaluation, but I'm not clear about how you can actually achieve it without making it at least possible for your consumers to be able to tell you about their experiences of using your services. And I wonder sometimes if there still remains in some parts of the sector, I'm sure none of you here today, but in some parts of the sector, a subconscious belief that free services should be passively, perhaps even silently received, a hangover perhaps from the days of benevolent paternalism. Be grateful for what you get. Certainly don't question whether it's actually what you need or good enough. If so, in the coming months and years, that view is increasingly less likely to wash with either beneficiaries, supporters, or funders. Deference is long gone. Unconditional trust is a scarcer commodity. And gratitude is increasingly dependent on the consumer's actual experience. We know that future funding is going to be unbelievably tight. Whether bidding for contracts or applying for grants, charities must have the evidence base to demonstrate their beneficiaries' needs and to show how their services are of sufficient quality to meet those needs. Charities that believe their services are fit for purpose but have no benchmark to demonstrate it need to get to grips with this before the funding vacuum that we're going to start seeing really seriously getting going from April onwards starts affecting our lives in ways that we have yet to understand. Money is going to be tighter than any of us can remember in our professional lifetimes, and the risk of strained budgets is that they can put quality under threat, whatever sector you're in. I don't know how many people watched the recent series involving the professional retailer Mary Portas taking over one of the Save the Children's charity shops in Orpington in an attempt to drive up profits. She succeeded magnificently, despite a little bit of hostile resistance perhaps from some of the long-standing volunteers, and she more than doubled the shop's previous average weekly takings. But she didn't do it by cutting prices. Using her experience of commercial retail, rather she recognised that quality is the key, and by using a range of initiatives she put up the quality of donations, and she put that quality at the heart of the strategy. Drive up quality and you can put up prices accordingly, as the car industry knows, and people will buy. Provide goods that are fit for purpose, as perceived by your consumers rather than as perceived by you, and they will pay the price, even if it's higher, and I think it's a timely lesson. At the Commission, we see quality as more than just an issue of best practice. To us, it's fundamentally about encouraging charities to enhance their effectiveness. The last 3 years have seen us endorse the quality standards of 8 large member organisations against our guidance, hallmarks of an effective charity. Over 2,500 individual member organisations now implement these quality standards, reaching over 28 million beneficiaries a year. I think, although I can't empirically prove it, that the extensive process of benchmarking, reviewing, and seeking ways consistently to meet these quality standards must have put these organisations in a stronger position than those who carried on doing what they'd always done in the way they always did it. They were perhaps noticing that expectations, their consumers' expectations, in other words, the goalposts, were moving. Now, this is both the ideal moment and I think also the ideal event to reveal that the potential reach of quality standards endorsed by the Charity Commission is about to be extended. The Commission was very pleased to lend its support to the 3rd edition of Picasso when it was published in June last year. And I'm delighted to take this opportunity to announce that the Charity Commission is endorsing Charity Evaluation Services Quality Mark from July this year, when this accreditation service will be using the new edition of Picasso for the first time. I welcome the Picasso Quality Mark to our growing family of endorsed quality standards, and I look forward very much to continue to work with CES in developing our endorsement programme. So to conclude, we need to recognise that it's not just charities' funding that will be under threat in the coming months and years. Without evidence of both beneficiary need and a charity's ability to meet that need in terms of quality and fit for purpose, there is no compelling reason for a funder to hand over cash or a commissioning authority to award the contract. We want the same thing, you and I. Charities providing high quality, relevant, properly funded services for the millions of beneficiaries in clear and present need. Putting quality at the heart of what you do is no longer just about best practice. It's becoming increasingly necessary to survival. Your beneficiaries are going to need you more than ever. You need to do everything you can to ensure that you remain there for them. Thank you.